Well, just like you guys, I think maybe you might have received the September issue of the Florist Review magazine and the Canadian Florist magazine, in which I'm featured with a Creative Edge article. The issue is on the business of wedding, fall and winter wedding. So I created 3 different bouquets that sort of exemplifies the Tropical Nouveau mix of flowers. That's combination of tropicals with temperate flowers, something that might look good for the fall and winter weddings. So the video that goes with the article that explains a little bit about the thoughts behind the process and the thinking behind the Tropical Nouveau combination is ready for viewing. Welcome to Creative Edge, an article that I write for Florist Review and Canadian Florist magazine. This month's article is called Tropical Nouveau Bouquet for fall and winter. So these are going to be the bridal bouquets. One is going to be hand-tied, one is going to be done in a bouquet holder, and the third being a combination of wired and taped and also glued bouquet. This is a fairly, Tropical Nouveau is a fairly new concept whereby we can combine tropical flowers with the temperate climate flowers. It was thought to be before that you can't combine the two because they're from different regions of the world, different seasonality. But with all these flowers being available all times of the year today, that it's becoming more fun and experimental to combine the combinations of these 2 groups of flowers. In the first bouquet, we're working with a chicken wire, sort of a grid that I created for the hand tied so that I can design into my hand as well as place it in the vase to finish off the placement of the flowers. I have used a combination of tropicals. That's the anthuriums, the cymbidium orchids. There's a little bit of pincushion protea, and in combination with the temperate climate flowers, which are the David Austin roses, which is sort of the queen of roses. Also the red peonies, the pretty fluffy carnations, the hanging amaranthus, and the pampas grass gives you that sort of a fall at the end of the season kind of a feeling to it. So there's a definite seasonality in color and textures to create this first bouquet. The second bouquet was actually created in the Smithers Oasis European bouquet holder. That's the big round one. It had been prepared in advance with the muslin ribbon in the shade of bark so that it really has that very natural kind of coloring, sort of the soft brown coloring, to go with what's on the other side, the bouquet itself, which features the pampas grass. It gives it a very ethereal fall and kind of a mystical feeling. Very romantic, but it is in combination with the tropical, which in this case is featuring the anthurium. It's an amnicola variety called Lavender Lady, so that the colors are now going to a much softer coloring in the lavenders and also the aubergine of the cymbidium orchid. It also features the David Austin roses. Patience is the variety, and that in conjunction with a little spotting of the scabiosa pods so that it gives you that kind of the aging of the seed pods, the dried materials next to the freshness of the beautiful garden roses. I think it gives you a very nostalgic, very romantic, very vintage-like feel, and it's in a sort of a cascade form that then is possible working out of the foam bouquet holder that is supporting all of these designs, so it keeps it moist at all times. The last bouquet is the most minimalist one, which is probably my most artsy one because it requires a lot of thinking ahead to plan the different portions of this technically and mechanically. So that I basically started out with a nice handle that I created with the combination of heavy wire surrounded by little pieces of Middlino, graduated from very small to much bigger up towards the top that holds the main core of the bouquet. It's been bound together with bullion wire so that when you look at it up close and personal, it has a lot of great details to it. But on the top of that, I created a platform to which everything was attached, including the angularity that's been created with the equisetum that's been bent in an angle, which then supports the arcing actually middle-lean-out tatami that's been created with bullion, so that it's very, very light. And it has an overlay of steel grass so that it has the greenness that sits on top that supports the green, the rest of the greens. And then into that, I have designed with a combination of poppy pods and scabiosa pods, so they're dry, to complement the brown fuzziness of the poppy buds. And then anchored by the the white anthurium, which, by the way, have a very sort of a creamy spadix to it, which then marries to the color of the ranunculus, or color of the Alexandra Farms David Austin Rose. That's Purity, I believe, the singular piece there in the heart, really, really important, that helps sort of connect that to the beautiful white of the ranunculus. So you have a nice transition of color, white to blush to kind of into the fall shades of the pods and the bud. And so it gives you a very wintry, very stark, minimalist bouquet that is fashioned in a very artistic way.